Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township, March 2nd, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, if Pastor Steve Hobbins from Lewis Avenue Baptist Church could open us up in prayer tonight, we'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's pray. Father, thank you for the freedom to come together. And I know this is virtual, a little bit different, but Father, you know that these matters are serious to us. And these may not be life-changing issues, but they're very important. And Father, that you know that they're important to us. And we don't want to do make the least of decisions without consulting you and asking for wisdom and asking for your guidance. We thank you for your watch care over us. We ask that you would have your way in each of our decisions, guide our minds, and thank you for the freedom to call on you. I pray that you'd superintend. I pray that we would do things for your glory, and we ask this now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Thanks.
Okay. Item 2 is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is submitted. Support.
Okay. Motion by Steiner, supported by Mr. Gore. Discussion. Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
First votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Item 3, the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to A, approve and place on file the minutes of the February 16th, 2021 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, accept with regret the resignation of Ken Schumacher from the Green Initiatives Committee effective immediately.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted. I'll support.
Okay, motion by Steiner, supported by Mr. Gore. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Up next is public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items only. So, we'll go ahead and wait for those to happen. As soon as we get started on something, the calls start rolling in, so.
Hello.
Good evening. Go ahead with your comment. Just state your name and address first.
Yeah, my name's Ashley Lipsdorf, 917 Santa Fe Court. I'm calling in regards to item 8H, the library chiller. I'm calling as a member of the Library Advisory Board to urge the Township Board to replace the chiller at the library with library funds and to put the project out to bid. Township policy states any project over $20,000 needs to go through a sealed bid process. Our contract with Rawlings is a service contract only. They check and service the library quarterly and change filters as needed. It isn't required that they be the only company to install new equipment. And to give a job of this amount to any company without comparing prices from others is incredibly irresponsible. Past library advisory boards have recommended that the chiller be repaired as suggested by Monroe Plumbing and Heating in 2019. However, repair requests tend to get lost once submitted to the township, like with 3 hot water actuators that were recommended to be replaced this past October per Rawlings. Since repairs to the chiller weren't completed in a timely manner, those repairs may no longer be sufficient, and replacement is likely more fiscally responsible and can be done with the library fund. Repair and replacement projects need to be addressed when they are first brought up to prevent the snowball effects that cost us in the future. And we should not postpone other library repairs due to the chiller. Voters were promised that the library's millage work would be done before the millage expires. We shouldn't wait for the library to fully reopen just to have it be closed again down the road for millage projects. The carpet needs to be addressed now. Please stop postponing work on the library and causing more issues down the road. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Next caller.
Hi, I'm being overtalked on the TV there. I'm ahead of time. Shalom.
Hello, can you
I
state
hope
your name and address,
everybody-
please, before you start, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
This is Gail Kane at 1056 West Temperance, and I'm wishing shalom to everyone. Hope everyone has enjoyed their Purim holiday. The reason I'm calling tonight is that I am requesting, I'd like to see some more information on the farmers market. I mean, could we get a list of who's on the board? Is it a 501c3? It's definitely an ideal thing because the Temperance Action Committee had started that in the past. So yes, we need to have that. In addition to that, I am going to request that our township attorney, if our supervisor again fails to fulfill his statutory obligation of appointing someone and fully going through the whole list for the Planning Commission, that he file a lawsuit on behalf of the residents of Bedford Township for those people who will possibly have to have their plans set aside because of the incompetence of the supervisor to choose someone appropriately. I thank you, and again, shalom.
Ooh, have a great night. Thank you for your comments. Next caller. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
No comments yet. Harry Lambers at 8046 Timberwood Lane, Temperance, Michigan.
Okay, go ahead with your comment.
I'm going to listen and make a comment as we go.
Well, we're getting to your agenda item probably in about an hour. So if you would like, you could call back at the next comment. But right now it's public comment time for board agenda items only.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a good night. Any more callers, George? Okay.
Good evening,
Go
everyone.
ahead, state your name and address.
My name is Denise Ellsworth. I live at 1421 Winding Way, Temperance, Michigan, and I am the treasurer of the Library Advisory Board. I would appreciate a few moments of your time to speak on behalf of the library and the citizens of this township. There were promises made to our citizens when the library millage was passed that we would complete all projects by the time the millage expires. But more importantly, these projects involving the inside of the library need to be complete before our library is safely opened back up to our citizens with no other closures that would prohibit them from using this cornerstone of our community. The library fund has enough money presently to expedite the purchase and installation of the chiller, as well as the installation of the carpet, with the inclusion of recent tax collections that will be added to the fund. I trust that we will be following township policy for sealed bids for any project over $20,000, as preliminary cost specs for a new chiller are $60,000. Finally, I want to trust that the township board will follow through on the promises made to our citizens about their library and respect the money designated for these projects. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Okay. Go ahead with your comments. State your name and address.
Oh, we're starting already. My name's Bob Potter, 1518 West Temperance Road, Temperance, Michigan, and I'm calling related to item 8C, the BZA fee waiver. I'm wondering if anybody has any questions on that, or if I should wait until that item comes up on the agenda.
Hey, George, have Bob call back and just put him on hold until we get to that item.
Okay. I'll hang up. Okay, I'll hang
Just
up.
go ahead and hang up, Bob, and call back. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead through the comment.
I am Bob Queen, Exeter Township Supervisor, address 10700 Bitts Road. Maybe
Okay,
Michigan.
Bob, same thing. If you would like to call back and we'll get you on for 8F. George, that's what one he's going to be on is 8F. So just call back and put him in the holding tank. This is the gentleman we're waiting on.
All right, thank you. I will do that.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, thank you, sir. Bye.
Any more comments, George, from the public? Okay, sounds good. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. 7A, approval of staff reports. 6A, resolution amending the 2021 general fund budget. Stuart, if you want to have Bob Miller, he's on as well with the finance department. Bob, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Any questions immediately about the budget, or should we just go line by line?
Go line by line, Bob, and then as questions arise, board members, just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll call upon you. We'll keep it rolling.
All righty. I'm going to start with that 4-page Excel sheet titled Presentation. The first section is revenues. These are all increases in revenue. We had increase in collection and fees. The next line is the COVID grant. We had the increase in state shared revenues because on the earlier budget, the expectations were that the state shared revenue would be reduced. So now we're putting that back in. There was an increase in application fees, increase in the cemeteries, a small increase in the ordinance fines, and a small increase in special use permit. The last one, we're going to do something a little different. In the past, we had the fund balance appropriated. So as we had an expense item that we needed a budget for, we increased the expense, and then we also increased the fund balance appropriated. This did not show a net result in the overall fund balance. So what I'm trying to do now is, as we make a budgeted adjustment, we'll see the direct impact of the fund balance. That's the purpose of removing the fund balance appropriated line. So we have a net increase in revenue of $580,565 through February. Any questions on the revenue? Okay, we'll go into the expense. Starts with the supervisor. We had, we're over budget in the legal fees. currently was like $200, so we're adding $1,000, so that'll leave you $800 to get you through the end of the year. The next one, finance department, utilities telephone, that was just under budgeted by $80 based on the current run rate. So we'll increase that by 80. Flipping to page 2. Clerk department, for whatever reason, the budget at the beginning of the year was under budgeted by $5,000. So we're adding that back in based on the current usage run rates. Information technology, of course, that was a big one. No one really knew how to budget for this COVID because we're having all the extra IT costs. And also the same with utilities internet. There's a lot of extra internet fees. Plus some of those were originally posted to contracted services when they should have gone to utilities internet. The treasurer, based on current run rates, will be $100 short. So we'll just pop 100 there. And same thing with equipment rentals. That was under budgeted by $350 based on current run rates. Assessing, the assessor was given a raise to the 62,000, so we're bumping up the budget to get the budget up to 62,000. Appraiser salary. Rates of the appraisers of Teresa, Comer, Pete there, and Kelly. We need an extra 16,000 to get us through the end of the year.
Mr. Miller, is that due to overtime hours or?
No, I think they were a little short on the budget estimates at the beginning of the year.
How were they off by $16,000, Bob? That's a pretty big mistake there.
I wasn't involved in those meetings. I'm not sure what the thought process was with Dave and the head assessor at the time. I know they had some change with the head assessor and Chrissy moving in. There might have been some confusion there.
Can you help me with that, Paul?
Well, finance director is deceased, who was here, and the head assessor's gone. So not much help there. And quite frankly, Mr. Steiner, you can attest to this. The last 4 years, we've had many things go on with our budget that there's questions to. Okay. We really don't have an answer for it. I heard it was possibly because Teresa had a raise and it wasn't adjusted for. I can't tell you. I don't work back there. All I know is we submit our budgets every year, and they're kind of the same as the years prior, and we adjust to somebody leaving, somebody coming. And we do the best we can. Well, it was $16,000 off. Can't answer why. I met with Trudy, and we kind of went over it, and I don't know if she has a better answer for it.
To correct it for next year or what? Because you're
saying
now that they have off, what
I'm sure now that we have Bob Miller here, things are going to be a lot better and run a lot smoother. It's significantly different already. The numbers line up, and we're just getting a lot better result with Bob already. So I don't know if Trudy, you have anything else to add to it.
I just wanted to say that we asked Teresa, Pete, and Kelly, mainly Pete and Kelly, because they're the part-time people, how many hours they were working a week. And we took that, based it on what they make per hour. And this is how we came up with the budget adjustment that was going to be needed to get through the end of the year. Teresa's salary, so hers is set. We just needed to adjust it a little bit. I think something that was missed was everyone received a 2% raise. So I think 2% of this could be that was missed when the calculations were put in. But other than that, I can't explain anything else on that. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Well, I think the comments there has been some discrepancies in our numbers. I hate to do it without know what's going on, but the numbers right now are what they are, and pretty confident working with Mr. Miller. And I generally talk with Mr. Miller every couple of weeks or so, check in, see how things are going, and he tells me, all the numbers and adjustments he has found over time that he has made corrections. So I think going into the next budget session, Mr. Miller is going to have us pretty well locked down.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, thank you. Staying within the assessing department, same thing, life insurance and insurance and bonds, doing the run rate. We were a little short. Going to page 3, buildings and grounds.
Can I jump in there real quick? The insurance and bonds you may see on some other, is that on the other ones? Insurance and bonds came in a little bit high. We were able to, most departments had enough money in there to cover, but that's why it's showing in assessing. Insurance and bonds, the pricing came up. We're going to be looking at adjusting that for the next budget year also, because we don't think that's quite broken up correctly. So Bob and I will be looking at this next budget year and kind of calculate are aware ahead of time.
Thank you, Trudy.
Mm-hmm.
Page 3, buildings and grounds. Based on the current usage rate, I know we had a change in the beginning of the fiscal year with Adam coming on and, I forgot the other maintenance who left. They had a different usage rate in their pension. So we needed to budget a little bit more to get them through the end of the year. Cemeteries.
What's that, Bob?
The cemeteries, next section.
You said the pension.
The pension. Yes, we had Adam come on, I believe, in September. And before that, we had, I forgot at the top of my head, the other maintenance, Dave Rudd left. They had different usage rates in the pension. So Adam is taking more advantage of the pension, so the costs are a little higher.
Okay.
Cemeteries. This one here, the electric company added a service fee of $30 per month that wasn't in there in the prior year. They call it an access fee. So we had to account for that. Township at large. This is a change with the utilities telephone. Currently, we have the main business line, the elevator, security, fax, conference room, auto attendant, and computer room. We thought that might be better in the township at large, where it belongs. So we're increasing to cover that to get us through the end of the year.
Will those funds be pulled out of the other departments that you're taking them from?
There was some realignment, but there has been a small increase. But we'll see, given the next month or two, when we look at these numbers real close again to see where they're at. But they were divided up pretty much between all the departments.
Okay.
Basically, what we're trying to do is align where the costs actually belong. Equipment rentals, that has gone up with the postage machine. So we need a little bit more there in township at large to get us through the end of the year. And the COVID grant. So we spent all that money. So now we're just getting the budget in there for that. Ordinance department. We just need the 16,000 to get the 2 employees through the end of the year.
That brings the question again. You know, they wanted to bring, you know, the part-timers, to keep part-timers with a large increase. But yet now we're again, very similar. We just talked to another department, $16,000, and we've got 4 months to go.
Here we go. Let's get political. So let's get political when you know the story. So you know the story, but I'll tell it. Okay. We kept the same level of service from summertime with our 2 full-times and our 3 employees to cover nights and weekends. Okay. After COVID hit, we kept that same level of service. So once it we got a new board and we wanted to fund that to keep it going because we pulled that funding but we had to keep that same level of service because we were going to put it back in the budget if we didn't see the 40% reduction, which we didn't see. So then I talked to Trudy 3 months ago and we said, when we get to the point where we need more money, we'll come to the board. We came to the board, they denied it. So now here we are, laid the people off, and we need 16,000 to keep them rolling. You know the story, Rick. You know what's going on here.
Well, you know, again,
I mean, if you,
all right, let me finish here. I mean,
yeah,
again, drop the political. I want an
no,
explanation.
you're being political. You know the answers to it.
Okay.
But go ahead, finish up.
So the explanation is this $16,000 is not adding employees back in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So again, I'm asking for clarification, Mr. Peroni. I'm not asking for politics. I'm asking for clarification so our citizens understand where we stand with our budget, so we don't look foolish when we don't have answers to these numbers. So again, I'm not playing politics. I want answers for myself, and I want answers for.
You're looking for an answer from me, or are you good, Mr. Bruning?
Thanks, Paul. Hey, I want to know, has the ordinance department made any changes to accommodate for, because after we denied them the money, have they made any changes to their schedule? I mean, do Shayla and Damon work different shifts now? I mean, what is being done to address this, Paul?
Have you called and talked to them, Mr.
Well,
Bruning?
they report to you, Paul. I'm asking.
No, I'm asking you as a board member. You could ask them these questions, but I'll answer it though. They have two different jobs, and I would suggest all new board members and current board members sit down with the ordinance department. Understand it. They have 400 plus ordinances that they have to oversee. Damon and Shayla both have different duties, as like in the treasurer's department. Amy has a different duty than Krista or Nikki. They all have different jobs, so they do work a lot of the same schedule, but they have different duties. Right now, as far as they're waiting till after this meeting to give the Monday through Friday full schedule. So after this meeting, they're going to cover 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. But keep in mind, they have different jobs. They have liquor inspections. They have, Shayla handles all the grass complaints. There's 400 ordinances. It's not just the illegal burn. So I would suggest just sit down with them. They'll help you understand everything that they do. Okay, any more questions for Mr. Miller? Okay, Mr. Miller, keep moving on.
All righty. Staying within the ordinance department. The original FICA was, needs to be increased. It was based on usage. Original budget was cut, so we have to cover the FICA. And same with legal fees. We're adding $1,000 to get them through the end of the year.
Okay.
Page 4, building inspection. This is another one where legal fees were a little short. By adding $1,000, they'll have about $410 to get through the end of the year based on usage rates. They also had truck repairs that exceeded expectations. So we need to increase the maintenance vehicles to get them back up.
Just a reminder, this board did vote on that transmission for the building department, so. Okay, moving on.
Okay. Street lighting at Deer Creek, they had a large maintenance repair. So we need to increase the budget to cover for that. Planning department, life insurance, based on current usage rates, we need to add 500 there. And equipment rentals, same thing. We're getting the increase in the postage machine, so we got to cover that through the rest of the year. And the big change is at the bottom now. You can see that we have revenues of 580,000, total expenditures of 105,795. This would be a net benefit of $474,770.
Okay, any more questions for Mr. Miller or Ms. Hirschberger?
Great job, Bob.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, Bob.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Trudy, is the audit gonna be on here? The difference in that, or is that later on?
No, that's covered. We don't have to make a budget adjustment.
Oh, so, okay, sounds
We
good.
have to approve the increase, but there's no budget adjustment needed.
Okay.
We have it.
Okay, sounds good. I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution amending the 2021 general fund budget as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Ms. Janazek. Discussion. I just want to say, yeah, there's changes on there, but like I said, myself, Mr. Steiner, Mr. Montre have been talking about this at budgets for a few years now, that changes need to happen. And, you know, I believe firmly with Mr. Miller in place, things are going to be different. We're not going to see stuff like this in the future. It has nothing to do with people putting budgets together and putting them back there. I mean, just last week with snow plowing, there's no money in snow plowing. This last board didn't vote to change the snow plowing. It just wasn't added in the budget. Well, it was never taken out. So there's things like that continue to happen. I believe with Mr. Miller, we're not going to see these things anymore. So yeah, it might come to surprise, but okay. Call the roll, please.
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Nope.
I'm sorry, I
No.
didn't hear that.
No, I will not support it.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Froning?
Aye. The motion passed 6-1. Okay, moving on to 7B, appointment to the Planning Commission.
No.
I know, I'm sorry. 6B, approve change order and invoice for auditor coverage, overage charges, Ms. Hirschberger? Or Mr. Miller, whoever.
So the audit came in, and because of all the extra work that needed to be done, COVID did not help, not having a finance manager, so we were a little late starting the audit. They have asked for a change order in their invoice. It started out at 33,000. We spoke to them a little more, and they ended up only making a change order of 11,900.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
I didn't really have any, I'm sorry, I didn't really have any specific questions. I just didn't know if I guess I was expecting, like, I didn't know if they were going to be there, or I just expected, I guess, more of a update on the overall situation. I don't have anything specific, but just, I didn't know if that was all the update that we're going to get right now, or.
They will be on the next agenda to present the audit, if that's what you're asking. This is just an increase I'm bringing to this one. The audit was just completed, so they'll be on the next agenda. It was not completed in time to bring it to this agenda.
Mr. Gore?
Thank you. I think Trudy just answered my question for me, but real quick. So it started out at 33,000, but you settled on 11,900. That's a huge decrease. They're not, the audit's done, so they're not going to come back to the board and say we need another 11,900 or another 15,500 or whatever. This is the 11,900, and that's.
We owed them, the original amount was, so what do we still owe them, Bob?
10,500, I believe.
So we still owe them that from their original bid for the,
Okay.
to do the audit. And then this 11,900 will be on top of that.
Okay. And then that'll be it.
So how did it get from 30-something thousand down to 11? I mean, did they make a mistake? Did you negotiate? What?
We negotiated.
Okay.
I negotiated.
So there was that, their time
Yes,
That was all time, $33,000 in time, okay.
correct.
Okay, any more questions, comments?
Great job, Trudy.
Thanks.
Ms. Hertzberger, just, I mean, it's hard to define everything, but, you know, the description said additional hours related to the audit. Okay, I can understand some additional hours. But then it mentioned also delays in the audit procedure. What is that about, the delay in the procedure?
Because we had no finance director, I could not do the audit and the elections and the finance position. So there was a delay till the finance director started so we could start the audit. I gave them as much as I could, but I couldn't do all three at the same time.
Okay.
So it was delayed.
Okay, just so we understand what that was.
Okay, could you call the roll, please?
I'll make a motion that we accept the billing for the 2020 audit overages in the amount of $11,900 as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, motion and supported by Mr. Bruning. Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hertzberger votes aye. Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
You're muted, Joe.
Aye.
Ms. Jandesak?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. 7A, approval of board and committee appointment procedure. Mr. Steiner.
Okay, this is the procedure that we discussed the last meeting. We brought it back for some tweaks and some minor changes and then some suggestions as well. I've sent all the changes to the board to take a look at. It's in your packets, of course. I'm sure that everyone has gone through this. I know, Mr. Gore, you had a quick question the other day. You asked me after I'd already sent it all in. Did you want to talk about that, Joe?
Well, yeah, just, I was reading over everything and it all looked good to me, but realistically it won't happen. But in an event that it does happen, we could, every election cycle, you could have a complete new board from the township supervisor all the way down to trustees. And you would have a new board come in within a month and have to make these committee appointments. I just was wondering if it would be beneficial to put a clause in there that maybe if in the event that that happens in election year, extend everybody by a month to give new board members and whatnot to get their feet on the ground. I was just looking for, discussion on that. It's not something that I wanted in there.
I think Phil could touch on this, but that would have to be followed by the statutes.
That's what I was saying. Phil
State laws put out there. I mean, we just can't, put stuff in place as board members. That's, already in place that, some of these positions have to be filled, right? Mr. Goldsmith, probably.
Correct. Some appointments could be postponed, but there are a big number that by statute expire and the appointment has to be made before the end of the year so that there's a smooth transition with the various boards and commissions. Some could, but those that by statute require appointment or reappointment would need to be fulfilled by the new board. So it's a good thought, Joe, because it's a lot of information to provide new board members and then to act upon. But some we would just have to do it.
Okay, thank you for that, clarifying that.
Sure.
Okay, and then the next one that came up, there's a portion under 6.610 where it says who the appointment, who notifies the appointment to the applicant that was selected. The appointments come to the township board agenda via the supervisor. So the question is, whose responsibility should it be listed in the procedure to notify whomever is appointed he or she to each of the boards and committees. Should that come from the supervisor department or the clerk's department?
Did you just say the appointments come from the supervisor?
No, the agenda does. You take them to the agenda.
No, I don't. Any board member could take it to the agenda. I only have specific ones that I do where I could put on the agenda to make motions.
Well,
But it doesn't say in the policy anywhere that the township supervisor sets it.
Okay, so we just need to clarify who's going to do the notification.
Personally, I think the clerk's department, they're the ones that swear in the people. They set up those appointments with board members. I mean, in my opinion, it should be the clerk's department getting a hold of the people that are sworn in or that are needing to be sworn in or needing to be notified personally.
In the past, it's always been the supervisor notifies them and then the clerk swears them in. It's almost like a double check. We want to keep that in place, but it's up to the board.
That's whatever the board wants. So. I think it'd be cleaner having one
I
department.
like the check and balances.
What is me calling them and you swearing them in have to do with a check and a
The
balance?
supervisor used to send them a letter saying that, congratulations, you've been appointed to blah, blah, blah board. Your next step is to come into the township and be sworn in. And then I'd have a list of people who need to be sworn in, and I would just make sure that the people came in. And if they didn't, then I would contact them a second time to make sure that they knew they had to come in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the mailing thing takes too long now, so we don't do that. And some of them
Well,
are
you
with
could email
dates.
them.
Email it.
Yeah.
Whatever the board wants. I mean, if the township board wants a phone call from the supervisor's desk, that's what we'll do.
I'll write it in whatever the board decides. It doesn't matter to me.
I agree with you.
Just to document, I'm sorry, Krista, just to document, whoever does it should, if email is the preferred method of communication, I would like it to be documented, a congratulatory notice, you've been appointed by the board. And as we know, some offices have a very tight window in which the newly appointed member is required by statute to come and be sworn in. So we have to keep an eye on that. And maybe a congratulatory email from the supervisor's office, followed by a contact by the clerk's office to come in and get sworn in within the specified time frame. That's just a suggestion.
You're saying an email from the supervisor, then the clerk's department contacts them to come in and get sworn in?
Your email from your office, Paul, could be congratulatory. Please contact the clerk because it is required that you be sworn in before commencing your duties in whatever your office is, whatever you've been appointed to. And then we have to pay particular attention. And actually, I think Rick has already addressed it, to take into consideration the shortest window. Isn't that in here, Rick, where you need to come in within 10 days of the date of appointment to be sworn in, and that captures the shortest window, which I think is our Board of Review.
Yeah, that's also in 6.6101.
See, that's another reason that I would say the clerk's department should handle it. They have that third employee that if I'm unelected in 4 years and so is Trudy, our deputies are gone, you still have Angie Deck working here. And she would know the 10-day deal and be aware of some of these things that new employees and new elected officials won't know.
Well, they'd have policies and just like the rest of us when we came in.
Yeah, and take 2-3 years to understand them all. So that's fine, whatever the board wants, but we need to move on though. I mean, we can't sit on this it's not that important.
Well, tell you what, with that said, I'm going to make a recommendation to approve as written with the change as suggested by Township Attorney Goldsmith, where the supervisor's office would notify the person that was approved by the township board and send a congratulatory email to them, welcome them to the board or committee, and then the clerk's office would follow to swear them in with an appointment.
What about the people that didn't make it? Get a lot of the people that are upset that they weren't notified that they didn't make it. Especially this last time when you had 300 people apply.
In most cases, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, but if you do have 30, 40, 50 people apply, then you've got a whole treasure trove of.
Well, I'm just saying, if somebody's gonna do it, it needs to be in there.
Well, I mean, you have to
Specify.
make it either way though. I mean, if you guys want that in, we can put it in. And I mean, and again, it's really one email. I mean, it's not as personal, but I mean, you could blind copy everybody so everybody's email address doesn't go out. You could blind it as a general letter stating thank you for your application to the various boards or committees. And unfortunately, at this time, you have not been selected. I mean, we could even draft a general letter that could be attached to the emails for that.
It probably doesn't need to be in the policy. However, as a matter of common courtesy, it would be just a good practice to follow.
Well, I'm the one that made the suggestion, so can we just make a decision? I didn't know we were going to fight over who's going to actually do work. This should be done. Why are we?
I don't care
to do it.
I don't care about the work portion. It's
yes,
just
it is. It's just fighting over. It's fighting over. Nobody wants to do the simplest thing. Just shirking responsibility. I'll do it. Put it in there. Golly, we're gonna sit here and talk for 10 minutes about who's gonna contact a. So dumb.
Well, we've got the motion on the floor with the one edit for the supervisor's office to make contact, and then the clerk to contact them for.
All right, well, let's do that now.
That's fine. Let's just keep moving.
Okay, we got a second. Todd seconded.
I just want to say something. Every decision we make has to be made for new board members. So that's why it's important when we put everything in place, it makes sense. Not just what we want to stick somebody with or what we want to do. And that's all my decisions are made. So it's easy for the next group. That's all I care about. So
There's
moving on.
actually a policy in place we can follow.
It's got to be easy because I'm telling you, when I came here, it wasn't easy to get inundated with everything. So moving on.
Which is,
So are we making a motion on the whole thing? Is that what we just did or what?
I made a motion with the one amendment.
That's one edit.
Mr. Goldsmith. That was it.
And I supported.
Okay, any more discussion?
Yes, discussion. Something that actually matters, that actually makes it clarified. Okay, so one of my other suggestions is the second one on the list. So it says that 6.2 through 6.7, well, 6.6.2 through 6.6.7 applies to BZA, which is 6.6.1. There's so much redundancy in there, which I had sent in an attachment with the adjustments that was not included, but 6.6.8.2, or no, 6.6.8.1 and 6.6.1.2 are verbatim. So it says the exact same thing for two separate things. Then we have a note that the paid boards commissions will be listed on the master document, but then we have two lines in there saying BZA and Planning Commission receive a compensation. So I would say that they either all need to be in the 3.1.2 or they all need to be over here with 6.6.1. Having two random ones over here and the rest of them in another spot makes zero sense.
Everything in 3.1 is strictly reference document.
Okay.
So 3.1 would be the township bylaws document, where we said we would create a document that it would include the committees by name and their written bylaws and statutory requirements to be identified on the document. That's a reference document, not part of the actual procedure itself. The next one, current 3.12, current boards and committee assignments. The same document is already posted on the township website. We would just need to update that document with specific meeting days, meeting hours, the basic duty and compensation.
So we don't need 661. You don't need 661 in there if that's in the other spot.
Now, 661 is actually part of the procedure itself. 3.12 is strictly a reference document. Because those documents in 3.1, those documents will change over time.
Which boards get paid and which ones don't get changes over time?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, well, the request is if there's other boards that are paid compensation on a per meeting basis, why would you not list all of them in 661 instead of just arbitrarily 2?
We're not listing the boards as you're saying in 661. The document reference, like I said, the first one, we would create a new document that shows what the committees are and their bylaws. Doesn't talk about paid, unpaid, or anything else. The committees and their bylaws. Bylaws do change periodically, not too often, but they can. If that document changes and we have something in the procedure, you end up having to change the procedure as well. This way, you only refer to the document that has been created with those boards and committees. The same with the boards and committee assignments. Again, those change constantly because of new appointments.
That has nothing to do with anything. If my note was, it notates that those boards are being paid. So all paid boards should be listed there. You would have a list of all of the paid boards if the only thing that's really being notated on 661 is that they receive compensation on a per meeting basis, and that's the only purpose of that line even being in there, then it would make sense to at least have the other boards that are paid compensation on a per meeting basis. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
I don't think I'm following where you're going there.
Craig, did you email this during the discussion last week?
Yeah, it's all.
Steiner, did you respond to him so you guys could have had this conversation?
But the response is
it's all in the cover.
They would all. The response is the commission, the paid boards and commissions would be listed in the master document. So if that's the case, why there's either no purpose for 661 or they should all be listed. Not either. It doesn't make any sense. It's confusing.
Well, I guess,
and it's confusing as misleading. It makes it seem as if these are the only two that are paid on a meeting basis.
Did you get this boilerplate from another township, or where did you get this boilerplate from?
This follows similar to general ISO procedures, which I've been around for many, many years.
I'm just saying, where did you pull the document from?
Oh, I created the document.
The whole thing verbatim?
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of just the bullet point, the headers. I mean, I went through what I've dealt. Like I said, I've dealt for years with ISO, which you have a purpose, a scope, reference, responsibility. I mean, those are the main bullet points. And again, 3.1 is strictly reference documents. Everything else is part of the procedure.
Anybody else have anything to add to it?
Well, again, it's confusing. And if 6681 and 6612 are the exact same thing, and if 662 through 667 all apply to paid and unpaid boards and zoning and planning commission, the order of that makes no sense. It should just be, which I, like I said, I included it and I put in I made the edits and included it in a clear, concise way because why would you, if 662 through 667 apply to 661, why would you include them in that order and then add all paid and unpaid boards and committees, say the same thing again that you just said above that section, and then say all of those things apply, we just put it under.
Well, again, 6.61 strictly talks to the Board of Zoning Appeals or Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Commission only. 6.68 is all other boards and committees.
Mr. Bruning?
Do you guys just want to table this until you can get this all worked out until next meeting?
Make the motion.
Easier.
Make the motion.
Craig, Rick, would that be easier for you two?
Well, the biggest thing is, I don't agree with somebody just changing a document saying, here it is, and it's not highlighted what you changed, you just send a cover letter of changes. So, I don't know, I want to hear from some of the other board members. I mean,
I was fine with it. I supported your motion, so I was fine with it as is, but.
I mean.
Yeah, but are you agreeing, Mr. Bruning, with what Mr. Montry is saying, or are you just to agree to agree? Do you understand what he's saying? Mr. Bruning, do you agree with what he's saying, Mr. Montry?
No, not on everything, no. It's just making things more confusing. You have reference and then
Craig's
there's actually the plan.
Is what you're saying. Craig's making it more confusing, Mr. Bruning, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's trying to add more to it. It's just making it work.
No, I'm taking like
trying to take away
5 lines out of it. It's just
trying to take away
it's literally just, it's redundant. It looks like the first line references something, and then as you're going through it, you're going, okay, but then you're saying, oh, all those things above apply to this, and then there's a line that is also, it's just, like I said,
all
it's
right,
just
I'm going to make
extra.
a motion, we table.
We already have a motion.
You can't make a motion on it.
There's a motion on the floor and it's supported, so.
Call the roll.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
No, and I would like the record to state that I think it's foolish to approve policies and procedures that are misleading.
Ms. Jandisek,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
No, there's some things that I agree with. I looked at it and Mr. Montre, thank you for pointing it out because I skipped over it. There's just 6.681 and the first one, they say the exact can be cleaned up.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni,
No, because Mr. Montry actually makes sense. And I can't believe we're moving on with something that's going to be here for the future of the next 50 years of board members that could be changed. So the motion passed 4-3.
Well, and just to clarify one thing, there is nobody that's created anything in this document that says it's misleading.
Okay. All right. All right. Moving on to 8A, vouchers for payments, Hirschberger. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. 7B, appointment to the Planning Commission. Okay. You have your board agenda item here for the appointment of Arnold Jennings to the Planning Commission for a first term ending 12/31/23. I've heard the last couple of meetings, we need history. We need somebody with experience. So that's what I have here. Somebody with more experience in history than probably anybody in the township. I'm recommending the board to appoint Arnold Jennings to the Planning Commission for a first term ending 12/31/23. Mr. Jennings has been a resident of Bedford Township since 1959 and is always willing to serve his community. Mr. Jennings has served 2 terms on the Planning Commission, 1 term as Bedford Township trustee, and he has served on the Ida Township Planning Commission as well. His extensive career of experience includes 50 years in land development, building, and that of restaurant entrepreneur in Bedford Township. Mr. Jennings has a clear understanding of ordinances, property rights, and zoning, which adds to his skill set. In addition, Mr. Jennings has a unique experience of seeing the planning process as an applicant, one that approved or denied projects as a member of the Planning Commission and that of trustee. I'm excited that Mr. Jennings is willing to step up and serve his community once again. And that is my motion.
Support.
Okay, motion supported by Mr. Montry. Discussion.
Yeah.
Ms. Janczak?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have nothing against Mr. Jennings. I've known him for a while. I'm just really concerned that we are not looking at the applications that have been in our packet week after week after week. I feel that we are reaching, that we are going out and trying to bring somebody in each week different. Again, I have nothing against Mr. Jennings. I just feel we need to look at whom we have not looked at in the past.
What makes you think I'm not looking at all the people in the packet?
I don't mean not looking, but I mean considering them. I'm allowed to change my words.
Okay, well, how do you know I'm not considering them?
Okay, well, that's fine. I'm giving you my opinion.
Okay.
You asked for discussion, I'm giving you discussion.
Okay, and we reached for Tom Corvette as well, because we started this process in December. He wasn't an applicant then, or November. Come with Tom Corvette, so.
Out into March.
We're into March. Well, the board denied 6 appointments, or 5 appointments, so, of qualified people. So, Mr. Bruning?
He just now submitted his application, February 18th. Like I said, we had other people available. I'm a good friend of Arnie. I donate to his golf outing and everything else, but like you said, you just keep reaching, Paul. Keep putting people up. We'll keep voting them down.
What is you donating to his golf outing and you being friends with somebody have anything to do with an appointment to the planning commission?
I'm letting you know when I vote no on him, because you will not look at anybody else, Paul. It's nothing personal.
What does your personal stuff have to do with Arnie and an appointment?
You're not looking at the people that are already there, Paul. You keep dragging it out. It's fine with me. You're the one that looks like an idiot.
You turned down Joe Fike. You turned down Joe Fike. You've turned down Kim Coons. You've turned down Mike Keene. You've turned down Scott Boland. You've turned down plenty of good applicants, and I've looked at the ones. You board members are denying the applicants. It's my statutory duty as a supervisor to bring you an applicant. You, my friends, are the ones that should be going to state because you guys are not accepting an applicant of my statutory duty. So we want to hear the caller call every week and say, oh, the supervisor's not appointing somebody. I'm bringing somebody every week. Good applicants. And like I said, I took one of Mr. Steiner's applicants back in December. We appointed him. We moved on. He had to resign for reasons. So I've listened to board members. Keep in mind, this is the first time that I've ever been denied an appointment in 5 years, other than one library member by Miss Nancy Tinneberry. So now all of a sudden, with this new board, oh, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and the rules have changed about 17 times since this has all started back in November, December. So keep that in mind, Mr. Bruning. Let's keep our personal and golf outing stuff and relationships out of this township business.
Because the Good Old Boy Network's done now, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't have any campaign donors.
Yeah.
I need to
all right, moving on, Mr. Bruning. You've been heard. Ms. Hirschberger?
Mr. Montry was next.
Mr. Montry.
Yeah, I just wanted to state again what I had stated last week, which is that this appointment is different than pretty much any other committee appointment, and it is the supervisor's responsibility to make the appointment, and then this board approves or disapproves. And the purpose for that is to have an actual check on that situation and on that appointment. It is not for the board to strong arm the supervisor into appointing who they believe should be appointed. That it would be maybe appropriate if the supervisor was bringing an individual that would be inappropriate or just not a good fit or whatever, then that would make sense for this board to vote against that appointment. But this very specific appointment is the supervisor's statutory duty, and it is, I believe it's inappropriate for this board to act the way that they are regarding these appointments. I felt like the way that all board appointments have happened with this board have been inappropriate, and have tossed precedent to the wayside, because historically at this board, the supervisor makes the appointments for every board appointment, and the board approves, disapproves, and votes that person into that position. This very specific one is statutory, it's law. That's the nature of this board appointment. And I would like the minutes to reflect that sentiment, that I believe it's very inappropriate for this board to try to strong arm their personal candidate rather than approving or disapproving of the particular candidate being presented. That's all I have.
I just wanted to say that I am very disappointed that a good candidate did apply for this position, and yet the supervisor will not appoint him. And it is someone that the supervisor wanted to appoint a few years ago. That person could not commit to a responsibility of being on planning. But now when the person has the opportunity, he refuses to appoint him. So that is my disappointment. He is qualified, he is experienced, he has a background, and it has nothing to do with Arnie or any other candidate that is applying. But we have a very good candidate that applied, is before us, and he's not even being considered. So those are my sentiments. And as far as putting everyone's comments in the minutes, I don't think we can put verbatim what people say. I try and put in a little bit of what they say, but I can't do verbatim what everybody wants, or my minutes would be 20 pages long and the bill would be outrageous. So just wanted to let you know that.
Mr. Gore?
But that's all I wanted to say.
First of all, nobody's strong arming anybody. We're allowed to make our decision based on what we see and what we hear. Okay? I've supported one of the other candidates that Mr. Peroni brought forth. There's no question that Mr. Jennings is qualified. However, he just did recently put in an application, and we have a well-qualified applicant that was recommended by the person that is leaving the position to fill that spot. And we're not even getting any type of reasoning why that person won't be brought before the board. All we're getting is, it's my statutory requirement. It's my statutory requirement. And we're not getting, if you want us to give us a reason why we're not accepting somebody, then Paul, give us a reason why you're not bringing a person before the board like Tom, who's applied. That's all I'm asking.
Well, let me tell you right now, because I believe as a supervisor, Arnie Jennings is a better candidate. And it's my statutory duty to bring you somebody. And if I bring you somebody that I feel next board meeting is a better candidate than Tom Corvette, you guys should entertain it.
I am entertaining it.
Okay. Mr. Montry.
Just to respond to Trudy, that's what well, two parts. First, I totally appreciate that, and that's why I just want the minutes to reflect like that sentiment. I totally appreciate that, and I don't expect all comments to be included. So I totally get that. But I think that that's the problem here is that how I view this situation is it's not this board's job to pick the candidate. It is the supervisor's job to pick this candidate and for us to approve or disapprove of the candidate. And like, it's part of why the residents voted for the supervisor. Is one of those things is appointments. Again, similarly to a presidential nomination, if there's Supreme Court justices to be appointed, that goes into that's a factor for people voting as to who and what kind of people a president is going to appoint into those positions. It's a very similar situation. It is not, it is our job to go to say Arnie is a terrible candidate. That would be appropriate for us to say, we think Arnie is a terrible candidate. He's totally unqualified. This is a joke, whatever. That would be appropriate for us to not approve the supervisor's candidate.
Well, what's
not
inappropriate?
just because, well, it would be, like I said, if they weren't qualified, if it was, or if there was like, if it was your, like I said, if it's your brother, or I mean anything. I mean, if there's actual reasoning to say we don't approve of this person, not you didn't pick who I want you to pick, so I'm going to tell you no until you pick the person I tell you to pick. That I believe is inappropriate, and like I said, I think it's inappropriate across all. I think all of these board appointments that we've had through this board. I feel like that about all of them. But this one is like a legal requirement that's part of the statutory duty and your responsibility for it.
Well, that's the misunderstanding here. And the inappropriate thing is the fact that Mr. Bruning can say, you keep bringing us candidates, we'll keep denying them. Do you speak for the board? Or do you speak for everybody on here? Because you make it sound like you're speaking for the board when you say you keep bringing us candidates, you're not even going to consider them.
No, I just speak for myself.
Okay, because that sounded like you were speaking for everybody.
Nope,
Because you
just
said
me.
us. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, because if you're speaking for everybody, then, that means there's colluding going on, which I hope we don't have. So I've heard we need new blood from Mr. Bruning. We need new blood. I bring you new blood. I bring you a very well-qualified, experienced woman in the township. Denied. No reason. I had to put her on again so we could actually have discussion. Joe Fike, entrepreneur, businessman out of Chicago, owner of a business in Toledo now, lives in Bedford Township, never served on a board. We need new blood. We need new blood, Mr. Peroni. Denied. No discussion. I got you Mike Keene, vice president of Rudolph Libby, Bedford Township resident. Amazing guy. Hits every single box we've talked about checking. He's an okay guy, I heard last meeting. He's just an okay guy. Unbelievable. So, I mean, I keep bringing well-qualified candidates. But you just say, you keep bringing them, we'll just deny until you put who we want on. Well, it's not your job to put somebody on there, Mr. Bruning, Mr. Hirschberger, Mr. Steiner, Mr. Gore, Ms. Janizek. It's my job. But it's your job to approve. So if you guys keep denying, it's on your shoulders that we don't have a full planning department, not mine. So keep that in mind. Go for a roll call.
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek,
No.
Mr. Steiner. I'm sorry, did you say no?
You're muted,
Yes.
Steiner.
Okay.
No.
Mr. Gore,
No.
Hirschberger votes no.
Okay, the motion failed 5-2, and I'll bring you well-qualified candidates next meeting, so don't worry about that, guys. Okay, moving on to 8A, vouchers for payment. Ms. Hirschberger.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $38,344.52. Fire District, $40,561.98. Police Fund, $200.43. Park Fund, $3,597.94. Fire Equipment, $98.74. Library Operating Fund, $3,040.12. Springbrook SAD, $319. Lewiston Estate SAD, $292.13. Downtown Development Authority, $1,778.67. Sewer O&M Fund, $297,019.65. Trust and Agency Fund, $4,720.26, for a grand total of $392,173.44.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Januzak. Discussion?
I'd like to say the reason why the O&M fund is so high is because we did have a couple bond payments that we had to make. So that's the reason why that is so high.
Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Januzak?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8B, authorization for Consumers Energy to convert and replace center suspension streetlights. Ms. Hirschberger?
So I received this from consumers. They need to know our direction, what we would like to see with the conversion. So they've marked the locations on the map I provided. And the 1-to-1 conversion would be they would remove the center suspension and install a new bracket with LED street light. Or the 1-to-2 conversion, they would remove the one center suspension and install 2 new bracketed LED street lights. This is typically done in high traffic areas, or they just leave all of them and they don't replace anything. But if they do the 1-to-1, there is no cost to the township. So what I need from this board is, do we want to do anything? I would suggest we do at least the 1-to-1 conversion so we can get the LED lighting to lower the cost. But is there any areas that we wanted to do the 1-to-2 conversion?
Mr. Montry?
I'm down for doing the 1-to-1 conversion for all of them, unless there was a specific intersection that someone was planning on bringing up to do the 1-to-2.
Mr. Bruning?
I'm saying 1-to-1 unless someone needs an extra light elsewhere. I'm fine with 1-to-1.
Me too.
Okay. I look for a motion.
So can I just make a motion that we approve the 1-to-1 conversion for all the lighting
Now,
locations as presented?
the only one that I would even that I thought was maybe do we want that at Temperance and Lewis? I feel like that's already a well-lit area, so I don't know if I feel like that's an intersection that you would maybe have more well-lit than others, but that was the only thing I thought, but I don't know if it matters or not.
The only thing it does is goes to LED.
These LED lights are going to be brighter than what's on there already.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. Support. Did you make a motion?
Yes.
Support.
For all the 1-to-1.
Mr. Montry? Any more discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Montry?
Support. Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Yes, aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Januzak?
Aye.
Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8C, request, approve the request for a BZA fee waiver for the farmer's market. Is, okay, Mr. Bob Potter.
Hello, everyone.
there, my friend?
Good evening.
How you doing, man?
Yes. Yes, there's a letter before you from the Lambertville United Methodist Church requesting a waiver of fee for the Board of Zoning Appeals application for the special use permit. And I just called in to see if anyone had any questions. This has been done, or this has been agreed to by the board for several years in the past, and hopefully we'll see agreement this year as well. But it's a requirement to come before the board every 2 years.
Okay, anybody have any comments or questions? I just want to say, for myself, I started this farmer's market with a group of people when I was a trustee, and I'm so proud to see that it's still going. This township needs a farmer's market, needed one when it was put together, and I'm just glad that it's still thriving and going. And because of people like you, Mr. Potter, it's still going, and you guys work very hard. So I appreciate everything you do. If there's anything the township can do to support or help you guys, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Well, thank you very much.
I have a question for Mr. Potter because a resident had asked, maybe Mr. Potter can answer, who is on the farmer's market board now?
We have 8 members right now. My pastor at the church, Jim Brett. Let's see, Ed Rinke, the bee or the maple syrup person.
Sorry,
Can I ask how is this really relevant to us approving the? I mean, we can.
Yeah, there's 5. There's 5
the resident
vendors
asked, so I just thought I would
3
ask.
other people that are. Yeah, it's a mix of mostly vendors, but we have 3 from the general public to keep the general public part of the decision making process and on board.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Mr. Potter. I didn't know, did you want to say anything else about the farmer's market itself?
No, other than when I first started the market, we had 3 or 4 vendors, as I recall. That was 7 years ago, and last year we had 21 vendors registered, paying their fees for the stall rental. So the market has grown quite a bit. We don't keep a count of the customers, but the best indication that we would have is the number of vendors. So it's a popular market, and of course it's the best one in Bedford.
Thank you.
No, the closest farmers markets in southeast Michigan anyway. There's one in Luna Pier, there's one in Monroe, and then one in Dundee. I think those are the 3 that are the closest to us, and we're one of the only ones that accept the WIC coupons, and which is a federal program for certain income folks, and also the senior coupon program, which is a program for our seniors.
Mr. Montry?
Yeah, if nobody else has any questions for Mr. Potter, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for a BZA fee waiver for the Bedford Farmers Market.
Also support. A motion is supported by Mr. Peroni. Any more discussion?
Or Okay.
Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Okay, the motion passed 7-0. Thanks for being on, Bob.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a
Potter.
great night.
Thank you all very much.
Moving on to 8D, Board of Review Resolution for Mail-in Appeals. You have the memo before you. The resolution allows for residents, taxpayers to file a letter of protest to the March Board of Review without making a personal appearance. This resolution is an AMAR requirement. Okay. Any comments or questions? I look for a motion. I'll make a motion. We approve the resolution for the Board of Review to allow mail-in appeals.
Support.
Supportive of Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Okay, the motion passed 7-0. Moving on to 8E, purchase of 2 Toro Z Master 5000 lawnmowers. This is something that I've personally been pushing off for a few years now with our maintenance department. Both mowers that we have are exceeded their life. They've, taken good enough care of them to where they are, 14 years old roughly. We have 3 quotes here. They're pretty much all the same. The only difference is with Doug's Repair, they're local and they're willing to take our old 2 ones in on trade. At a total of $1,000, making their total price $18,297.44. So it is within the budget. We did the budget last budget year. So, Mr. Bruning,
Yeah. Do you think we could get more for the mowers, putting them out for bid?
maybe a couple $100, maybe $100, $200 more. I mean, you're talking about a 14-year-old mower with a ton of hours on them. So somebody would probably buy them. I mean, anywhere from around that range. I mean, John's giving us a fair price on them. Yeah, he's going to make a little bit of money on them, but nothing, in my opinion, nothing worth going through the process of. But we can. You don't have to take it. Ms. Januzak, does you have a question? Nope.
No.
Your hand was up, I thought. But
Hand up, no.
any more comments, questions?
No, that's the one thing. I was just wondering if we could get more, putting them out for bid. So I was looking for your guys' input on that one.
I have a quick question.
Mr. Gore?
On the bid process, does this go out on the website and people bid on it, or do we go out and bids, or how are we getting the bids in? Or how do people are knowing that we have the bids out there to the 2 lawnmowers?
It's contract bidding. It's Toro, so I mean, the prices are going to be the same. So it's not like, you got, John's, it's local, but it's not like you're going to have, it's kind of like the police cars. The price is what the price is type deal. Ms. Hirschberger?
I might be able to answer that, Joe. Per our policy, anything under $20,000, the board member is just required to bring 3 quotes to the board. It doesn't necessarily have to go out for bid as long as 3 quotes can be obtained.
Okay. I don't know if there was anybody else that was requested, like Leckler's or anyone like that, or, but I'm fine with Doug's.
Yeah, Doug's our only local guy, so. Mr. Montry?
To Todd's question, I thought about the same thing, and I guess my thinking behind it was you're more than likely going to have to sell both of them. So you're going to be piecing out 2 of them more than likely separately, and it's like kind of the you might be under, might be over. And my thought was that it's just not worth, that's probably not worth the extra work it would be if he's gonna take him in on trade at a fair price. That's just my thought. Just answer, like, give you my thoughts, I guess.
Personally, I don't think there's probably anybody else on this board as frugal as I am when it comes to stuff like this. If I thought I could get a bunch of more money, believe me, they wouldn't be in on a trade. I mean, it's something I feel like is a fair price, and the board doesn't have to dink around with a couple of 14-year-old mowers that are well over on the hours. You probably could get a couple $100 more for them, possibly. But you know, it's up to the board. Like I said, I don't care. I don't believe his price, the bottom line price, you know, with the 1,000 off, I don't believe that's discounted the price because of it. I think the price would be the same. It'd be $19,297.44. I don't think it'll change that, but so what's the pleasure of the board? Mr. Montray.
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to purchase 2 Toro Z Master 5000 lawnmowers as presented. To awarding the bid to Doug's Repair with a trade-in of 2 units at $1,000.
I'll second.
Okay, motion supported by, was that Mr. Steiner?
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion? Just call the roll, please.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. And our maintenance guys will be very thankful. They're riding on a 14-year-old mower can be rough. Okay, do we have our caller on, George, still? Okay, AF, resolution requesting adoption of legislation making disabled veterans exemptions granted until revoked or rescinded. So you have the document in front of you. I had a caller that was supposed to be on it. It's the supervisor from another township who actually sent this out to all supervisors. So anybody have any comments or questions on it? Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution that is the adoption of legislation making disabled veterans exemptions granted until revoked or rescinded.
Support.
As presented.
Motion is supported by Ms. Januzak. Any more discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. And that might be
There's your boy.
the gentleman calling in. Go ahead, let him through. Motion supported by Ms. Januzak. How you
Hey,
doing
boss.
tonight?
I'm back. Pretty good, sir.
Okay, so we just motion to approve the resolution. Do you have anything you'd like to tell us about or add to?
Just a little bit, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
I would like to thank everybody for actually taking a look at this. I think this opens the opportunity for townships working together as far as state legislation. I actually did my homework on this a little bit.
Can you hold on 1 second,
Yeah.
George? We're getting a lot of feedback, George, with the, okay, can you mute your TV, sir?
Sure, it's plumb in the other room.
Or something.
My TV's not on. Yeah, my TV's not even on.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
It might be the laptop.
Is everybody on our side on mute?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you now. I can turn you down. You there?
Okay, that's a lot better. All right, go ahead.
That's a lot better. Where's my laptop? Yeah, I can't hear you guys, but it's all good. I turn you up just a little bit. Maybe I can. All right, I hear you now.
Okay, go ahead.
You there?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. All right. This resolution actually was drafted by Kerry Bondi. Yep. All right. Thanks.
Yep, that's your laptop you're hearing talking back to you. Better off just to mute your laptop and talk.
All right. I'm gonna have to do that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is a weird system, and yeah, it's a little bit different than Zoom. I definitely admit. This resolution was drafted by Kerry Bondi. I actually, when this actually was put forth, I actually used to have our disabled veterans actually called Dale Zorn's office, and he did eventually reach out to me requesting a resolution and possibly have all the townships get on board with this. Now, if you go back in the records, there is a similar resolution that was put forth regarding a resolution for exemption for veterans, but it reflects the same thing, but the only difference is this one is at 65 years older. And the resolution failed before. Now, MTA wasn't for the old resolution because they were concerned about funding to the townships. And I believe, well, actually the funding for the townships, I believe, actually goes to the state level and it comes back to the townships through the state. So I didn't know if there was a legitimate reason for it to be canceled. But with this resolution set forth, and I'll shorten it up because I know you're busy. With this resolution, I firmly believe that any veterans at 65 years or older is on a limited time frame for actually coming off 100% disabled. I truly believe they will not ever not be 100% disabled, and if it ever happens, the numbers are minute, and it would be they would have to tell the assessor if they ever come off. This is not too much different than the poverty exemption that they put forth not too here recently for the 3-year cycle. And this is requesting legislation, so I don't believe it probably will look like this when they're done with it, but hopefully it'll be in the same ballpark. And that's all I have to say. And I really thank you for taking a look at this, and I really appreciate it. And I really would like to work across the fence a couple more times and on any issues that you guys want to put forth that benefits the township on a local level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to 8G, submit grant application to repair the Stony Brook Lane Bridge. So we have this grant in front of us from the Road Commission for a partnership. Personally, jobs like this probably should be part of an SAD because they are in the neighborhood, and we make neighborhoods all spend the money, their own personal dollars on fixing the roads. But there's exceptions sometimes. You know, we don't always have grants. There's an opportunity to fix a bridge in the neighborhood where we would have a $25,000 partnership with it, and the construction cost would be about $107,000. It's just up to the board if we want to, and I don't know if we're really opening up Pandora's box with this because we do have a lot of other bridges. Mr. Steiner knows he has a bridge in his neighborhood. When that bridge needs repaired, it's not the township's responsibility to fix that bridge. It would be part of an SAD. Now, if a grant were available and that bridge needed it, but we don't always come across these grants. Right now in Covered Bridge Estates, they have a bridge that's failing that'll have to be part of their SAD. I do know Stony Brook is pulling an SAD right now. We could put SAD, but it would cost the residents, $107,000, and we can do it for 25. So it's whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Do you know if they're allowed to have the 5% be like, is that allowed to be paid with their SAD?
It would be very difficult to make that part of the SAD, because if the SAD fails, I mean, the road commission needs an answer now. If we want to partner, we partner. If not, we do. Ms. Hirschberger? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gore was up next.
All right, thanks, Paul. So reading over the paperwork, there's no question the bridge needs to be repaired. According to the report, it's considered the most efficient local road or bridge in our township. But the construction isn't set to begin until 2024, so there's no way that's going to be a $25,000 price tag on that. In 3 years, your cost of construction, materials, wages, everything like that is going to go up. So the price of the bridge at $107,000, that's today. That's not 3 years from now. So should that be taken into consideration, the inflation?
I mean, that'll be something, probably with it being a 2024 project, they're probably putting some inflation in there, I would think, with the grant, because they don't want it to be double. But yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. It's always a possibility of the 10%, overage with every project, which we have it happen sometimes.
I do like the idea of getting the grant, because without the grant, the SAD would be on the hook for everything, wouldn't it? If that's the way we went.
Yes, that's how all neighborhoods operate, though, keep in mind.
That's right.
All neighborhoods are on their hook for their fixes. Like I said, Mr. Steiner's.
I'm fine with going with the grant.
Okay. Ms. Hirschberger?
What this board could do is we could say that we're approving the max 25,000, that we will not approve it to go higher. So in 3 years, if it goes higher, we just back out. We could also say that if an SAD does go through and it is approved, that the $25,000 be covered by the residents in that SAD.
I think that
unless Bill sees an issue with that.
I think it's a great idea. I think that should be, and it's nothing to do with the board skirting the responsibility. It's the fact that we don't put any money into SADs other than when you do an SAD. The only thing the board does the last couple of years is put crack seals down.
And we do that because the people have put the money into those roads. That's the least we could do is to make sure that they're maintained.
I just personally want to be careful because there has been a lot of neighborhoods where they've spent $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 and it's in their taxes, that here we are spending money out of our budget. And I know it's a grant and it's a different situation, but we're still putting money out. We haven't done that in the past. Mr. Steiner?
Yeah, and Ms. Hirschberg, you were going right down the avenue I was talking about too, to see if we could, possibly put that money over if an SAD is approved. And my comment there is also part of, since you already have in your budget, is to cover some of the engineering fees when there's project SADs. So, you're still helping out the residents through that portion of your budget. So in essence, some of their fees are going to be covered through their SAD in general because those engineering fees. So you're still helping them out either way.
Right, and this could be treated the same way where the engineering fees are covered, but if it's a successful SAD, then those are rolled into the project. We could do this the same way where we're getting a grant, we're funding the 25,000, and if there's a successful SAD, we roll that into that SAD, just like we do the engineering fees now. That would be the only thing I would ask the board to consider in that form.
Better than I did.
I think we're all on the same page. Mr. Montre, you still have a question?
Yeah, well, a couple thoughts, I guess. first to Joe's point, which is very, perfect point that this is going to be, it will be. It's not if, it will be. So, and the factor to consider is not just our 5%. You have to factor the whole cost, and then you have to factor the road commission going, oh, well, we only did it because they have their grant for 107. And then, so if it's whatever it is over, they're not going to necessarily be hitting their 95%, and we'll hit the 5%, and both of those are going to go up. It's more likely to be 107, and then we're hitting whatever the 5% up went, and whatever theirs went up. So both of those, like that whole overall needs to be considered as far as our budgetary process and knowing where our money's at long term, thinking that through. To Trudy, if we do that, if they're getting a SID approved right now or working on that, would this not need to be like if those residents are getting signatures and they're putting all that together to get the support for that, this would all need to be rolled into that so that they know what they're presenting and approving and the tax burden they're voting for upon themselves. Correct?
If there's a successful SAD that goes through there, during the stage when I talk to the residents and tell them these are the estimated cost, they would be presented with that cost also.
Okay.
That this board if we approve it, that we base it on a successful SAD goes through, they would be responsible for that repair.
Okay.
That's the only thing I could think of to make it fair for, anyone else who comes into this same predicament.
Mr. Brewing.
So if their SAD doesn't go through and we approve, can we make it contingent on that, or it's either, if it doesn't go through, we're on the hook for everything?
Well, we wouldn't be on the
If it
hook for
didn't come
everything.
through,
Well,
the 25,000,
exactly.
Yeah.
right. I don't think we can make it contingent on that because we do engineering fees up to $20,000. And if it fails, the township just absorbs that cost.
Mr. Montre.
Yeah, I feel like we have to look at this from the standpoint that the SAD is not going through and make the decision more based off of that. And then if it does go through, then you can roll that in for that presentation. But I don't know how to factor in the numbers we're actually looking at.
Well, if it works like all the other ones, it could be possibly 10%. It could go up 10% higher than so adding the two together, 10% more of that.
Mr. Gore.
Just a quick question for Trudy. Have you heard anything from the folks over there? Reference a straw poll that, this is going to go through, or it's going to be on the fence, or is there no information?
Right now, I have nothing. Just a petition.
Mr. Bruning.
Well, also now, because if we do approve this, the residents over there see that we approved it, they can shoot down the SAD and know we're going to be on the hook for it. So
Mr. Montre.
It's not fair to everybody else who has to pay for their own stuff.
Well, they're putting that, correct me if I'm wrong, they're putting their SAD through separate from this project, correct? They're not doing it for the bridge. They're doing it for all their roads anyway. So I would think, I know what you're saying, but I would think that they're not gonna abandon their whole neighborhood for this. So say 10% though. So 10% would put you at 145 which would mean basically 40 grand if you can count on the road commission to not go over 107, 95% or otherwise. That put us at 40 grand to be looking at, whether it's for the SAD or for out of the general fund.
Mr. Gore?
Mr. Bruning brings up a good point. Trudy, when does their decision on the SAD have to be in? Do we know yes or no? Because this is all going to be a timing issue, because it sounds like we got to put in this grant right away. But if we don't know anything about their SAD for a few months, then I think there's some issues there.
I definitely will not have an answer before this needs to be submitted to the road commission.
So, Mr. Goldsmith, is there a way for us to approve this tonight? Okay, and we pay for it out of our general fund, move forward with the grant, whatever, and then the SAD passes, is there a way to put that $25,000 for that bridge in their SAD if it passes? If it fails, we pay for it.
Yeah, there is a way. I agree with Trudy. And it would have to be disclosed to the at the meetings that we have, the statutory meetings that we have on the SAD, if they obtain the requisite number of petition signatures. There's a way to add that cost to it, and it would have to be it would have to come through Trudy on our initial cost estimate, and then at our hearings and be approved by the SAD residents. It's definitely a benefit to all those who live in the community, so it could be added. But having said that, I'm just going to caution you, and I think you've already identified this. If you're going to do this, I think you have to do it recognizing that you may not get 1 cent from the SAD, and do it that way. And was the cost estimate put together by the road commission, Trudy or Paul?
Yeah, it's the road commission.
Okay, so I'm sure they did that in good faith. But if you look at the local share, it's 5% construction plus design, oversight, inspection, and testing. And if we're 3 years out, that cost estimate is.
So it says right here, all estimates for projects to be constructed in 2024 should incorporate an annual inflationary factor of 3%.
Yeah, so there you go. So, I mean, you just have to go into it with open eyes. If the SAD goes through, yes, we can put that in our cost estimate, and they should pay for it. And they're getting a new bridge at a very low cost. But we have to treat all of our SAD districts, all of our neighborhoods, we should equally. And I think all of you in your presentations or discussion tonight have recognized that. So, but just go into it with the thought that we're going to pay for it, and we're going to pay inflationary costs. And if you still want to do it, then you do it.
Mr. Steiner?
Just clarify the application and the numbers. So the bridge construction estimate is 107. At 5%, the township responsibility for just the bridge construction is only $53.50, at least the way I read it. And then they're estimating design, oversight, inspection, and testing would be the rest, and that's $19,650. So I think honestly, with somebody else mentioned earlier about prices going up, there's hot mixed asphalt here as well. As we all know, petroleum products are going up. There's petroleum in asphalt. I wouldn't be surprised that bridge, in by 24, that bridge might hit 130 to 150 grand. So
Well,
I
they're
guess
saying
we just
3% a year.
I mean,
3%
yeah,
a year.
I mean, that's their swag on it. So
Okay. Ms. Hirschberger?
What happens if there's nothing done? How long will that bridge last before it fails, and then what happens? Does the road commission come in and pay for the whole thing, or?
It's the road commission's responsibility.
Right.
To be quite honest with you, I got an email from Manick and Smith, our township engineers, and they're wondering kind of why it's being done so soon. They don't think it's like an emergency. That bridge is constructed now. When they do the SAD, putting new blacktop over it, I mean, it would be like a brand new road. The concrete under it, I mean, some of the things that are wrong with it, it didn't seem like it was like emergency. There's some other I'm not sure why this project was picked over like a covered bridge or what, if it was certain specifications they were looking for, if it's an all concrete bridge, because this is concrete underneath. So, but I mean, bridges in residential areas like this, can last a long, long time. It's just, you have an opportunity for a grant. It's 40 some years old. And our end is very small for the job, but. All right, I look for a motion.
I got the impression in reading this presentation from the road commission, and it goes along with what you just stated, that the condition of the bridge is fair. And if the SAD goes through and there's new asphalt applied over it, it might be prudent to have the bridge inspected. There might be some other remedial things that would cost much less, and that could be folded into the SAD, and that bridge could last a long time into the future. So that's another thing to think about.
Yeah, but whatever fixes that are done probably are going to be around our cost share. So we're better off to, in my opinion, to take the grant, move forward and be done with it. And they have a new bridge that's good for 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
You don't always have grant opportunities. I hate to pass them up, so personally, I think we move forward with it. But Mr. Matrai?
Well, I was assuming it's similar to like any other road or like when we suggest to different neighborhoods to do an SAD before your road looks like Bedford Drive, that I would assume that's their thought process, is that it's not an emergency. It's not about to fall apart, and it won't be as expensive of a job to get it back tip top. Would that be an accurate assessment, or?
Sure. It's always good to maintain. This isn't a maintenance job, though. This is a tear out, total redo job. So, Mr. Steiner?
Paul or Trudy, do you know if they go through with an SAD when they're talking about doing the work with an SAD?
It would probably be 2022.
That's what I was assuming.
Won't be
so
this year.
They'd be 2 years ahead of the game by doing that. And if they have to do the SAD, if they're going to put asphalt over it, as it was mentioned, they're going to need to look at that bridge before they're going to put new asphalt over the top of it at that point.
That would be Manick and Smith's job as the township engineers. They would look at it and determine whether or not it can last. And from what I'm hearing, it's got some time yet, but
Because if we put the money out and go toward the grant, granted, we wouldn't have to spend it for 4 years, but still you're locked in and waiting 4 years when the other side of the coin, if they do it in 2 years, they're already getting the work done.
Mm-hmm.
The deadline is April 5th. We could bring this back to our next meeting and have Manick and Smith look at it to see, is this really an emergency thing that we need to approve?
It's not an emergency thing.
No.
They've already emailed and, kind of stated the same thing as the road commission. The bridge is 40 some years old. It's old, bridges don't last forever, but it's not like it's expanding a river and made of 100-foot long beams. You're sure with, concrete over top with asphalt laminate over top. So, Mr. Matrai? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Trudy.
I was just going to say, my only reason for postponing it, not only with Manick and Smith, but you have that answer, is why did they pick this over something like covered bridge that's failing?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Todd was before me.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Paul, I just don't think, it's fair for us to pay for the bridge in this neighborhood when other neighborhoods, yeah, granted, we're getting a grant and everything else, but this is just opening up the box. I mean, it's just not fair for us to pay for theirs and no one else's when it doesn't come along, so.
Well, we do have access grade all accounts where we fix areas in neighborhoods with ditches. We do put stone down in neighborhoods. We do put chloride down in neighborhoods. This is a different situation. All situations are on their own merit. This isn't a cut and dry situation. Let's be honest. If we get a grant opportunity next year for covered bridge to spend $20K over $150,000 job, this board's going to have to consider it. I mean, bottom line is, you know, it's in our community and we do things sometimes that isn't across the board. We have to look at every situation on its own merit. And I believe this is a different situation. Grants don't always come. And in 5 years, this project could cost $200,000 and it'd be on the neighborhood. And they'd look back at this meeting and think, what a bunch of idiots. You know, I'm just being honest. It's, you know, we have an opportunity to have a grant here for $25,000. You know, we definitely don't want to just pass it up. And I don't think we are. I think the board's really, you know, looking at it hard. Mr. Montry?
One, in that if we did this, and especially if we rolled the SAD into it, we wouldn't be paying for it or whatever. Like, it would be helping that neighborhood out because they're not going to be able to get this, if I understand correctly, at least, they're not going to be able to get this grant along with their SAD, where we're kind of, we're helping them out by accepting it and then letting them, allowing them to roll their SAD into it to get their bridge fixed as well while they're getting all their roads fixed. And the other thing I was going to add is just the fact that I guess what you were kind of just saying, Paul, like, you're going to probably have to get it fixed eventually. And if there's one thing that the government and tax dollars should be doing, if we're spending money on other things, at the very least, infrastructure should be maintained, I believe. I believe that's, if there's one thing government should be at least doing, is at the very least having good infrastructure at the rate that citizens in this country are taxed.
I just want to say I did offer the road commission. I asked them if somebody could come and represent this here, and they declined, but they didn't say why. They said they couldn't make the meeting or whatever, but I did ask for the engineer of the project to be on this call. So, Mr. Steiner.
So I'm going to ask more of a procedural for Mr. Goldsmith. Let's just say that we did approve to go ahead with the grant. Again, this isn't till 2024. And we talked to the residents and they would say, okay, we'll put this into our SAD. And if they get approval, again, they're going to want to repair that bridge in 2022. So how because if we're going to get the 25 out of our pocket, do we pay that up front to them in 2022, to do their bridge?
Can I just interrupt? What they'll do is if they do the project in 2022, they'll asphalt the whole neighborhood, including the bridge. And then in 2024, when we do the bridge, they'll tear out the bridge and the asphalt and put new asphalt down. I mean, you're talking, Rick, 50 feet of asphalt. You're not talking 500 feet. It's a small section of asphalt.
Okay. I was just curious how the money gets back around when it's not going to be applied till 24. That's all.
Mr. Bruning?
Yeah, if we're able to table this till the next meeting, like Trudy had said, that'll give us some time to get input from the residents. I would like to hear from the residents. It's their money we're spending.
How do you propose we do that?
They can call us and email us. If we just table it, that gives them time to contact one of us at least.
Okay. I personally, I think I like the thought, but I mean, what are you going to do if 3 residents contact you and say no? I'm just saying, you got roughly 200 homeowners probably in there, right, Trudy? I mean, unless you sent a letter and gave ample time and said, hey, we want your opinion on this. I mean, let's be honest, this board makes decisions every flipping other week without getting direct community. I mean, yeah, we ask our residents about stuff, but we don't send out letters and say, hey, you know what I mean? It's one of them things. I think we just need to make the best decision for our residents.
Well, this will just
You could
give
always
us time.
table it. I think if you're trying to get residential input, there's got to be a way to send a letter and say, I mean, then again, you're going to probably get a 50-50 response because these people don't even really know about this SAD yet. Somebody just told it in their neighborhood. We're going to confuse. It's going to be very difficult to explain to them. It's going to be very confusing.
Do we know really, I mean, a good estimate, is 200 a viable number to look at?
200 what? Residents?
You said about 200 homes.
Oh, I have no, I'm just guessing because I know about how big the neighborhood is. There's a lot of homes in there.
I mean, even if you have that, that's $250 per home. If you have that number, say it's 100 homes, that's a pretty low number. So, I mean, I would think that they.
I'm asking though is you have some time, so you're asking to send letters to the residents in the neighborhood.
No, I was just stating that that's a pretty low number. I would think that people would approve a number, you know, a couple $100 variance from their whole SAD.
Oh yeah, you spread it across the board. It's nothing when in the big scheme of things, yeah. But I will say this: we need to keep this meeting moving. I think we've discussed this thing, and I think if we want to table it, we table it. If not, I entertain a motion either way.
I'll make a motion that we table it till next board meeting.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Mr. Gore. No more discussion. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8H, direction on how to proceed regarding replacing the chiller at the library. Mr. Matra?
Yeah, so I said in my comment, the jobs that the Library Advisory Board is looking at, and I guess I kind of had voiced my opinion that mechanical issues should be addressed before aesthetic issues concerning this millage. And the Library Advisory Board at our last meeting would like to put that out to bid. But I guess I wanted to come to this board to be able to get direction to give the Library Advisory Board direction. I think there was possibly some miscommunication or misunderstanding with a couple of the new members of the Library Advisory Board based on some of the public comment calls. But just looking for what we want to give direction to be able to just provide some direction to the Library Advisory Board as to how we want to go about getting this project done, especially considering our contract with Rawlings. And personally, I would think that the best bet would be to, which I would think you'd be able to get bids for the chiller directly. Get 3 bids. I think it would be the most fiscally responsible process, at least in my opinion, from how my understanding would be to get the bids, whatever, for the actual hardware, and then follow our installation through our contract with Rawlings. But I'm totally open to hearing anybody and everybody out and just kind of like be able to present this to us as a board, to be able to give the library advisory board direction so they know what we're looking for.
Well, I'm a little disappointed in some of the comments from the library advisory board as they represent this board. The chillers needed to be replaced. It's been, Band-Aids have been being put on it for years. It has nothing to do with, oh, this got missed, let's be positive. Let's represent this board. Let's move forward. And that's what this board has done. And been very fiscally responsible. We've gotten a lot done, and we're going to continue to get a lot done. So just, you know, let us do our job, and we'll continue to move forward. We have a contract with Rawlings, the same ways we have a contract with Glick. I have talked with Rawlings. This is something that he has expressed that we could buy the chiller direct, and he could install it at time and material. That is an option for us to do. Let's be honest. I mean, Rawlings is going to be the one maintaining and working on this, and it's probably the smart thing to do to let him install it. Or you put it out for bid. You know, you could see prices differently. But like I said, I think we should look at the option of buying it direct and the cost of Rawlings just putting it in. I think we'll have a significant savings there because this board could do that because we do have a contract with them. And it's not just a maintenance contract. So let's make sure we have our facts straight before we call in and say stuff. But, you know, it's we do have a contract with them. But I'm up for whatever the board wants to do. Mr. Gore?
So if we bought it direct and Rawlings installed it, would it be under the $20,000 threshold that would require bids?
Probably not, but we don't have to follow that because we have a direct contract with a Rawlings and a Glick. If we have a project right now that's $60,000 with electric, we have a contract with Glick that we can just get a quote from Glick and do the job. That's what we put on the agenda last meeting. Yeah, there's a policy in place, but nothing states and when we did the contracts with Glick or Rawlings that, hey, we have a threshold. Yes, the policy's in place, but this board, quite frankly, went around the policy when we hired somebody directly to do all of our electric work and our HVAC work. Ms. Janizek?
So I asked Trudy just because I wasn't on the board when we did all of these contracts. I asked her to see the contract for Rawlings. And I have a copy of it, and it says HVAC maintenance and repair contract. So in my eyes, I see this as maintenance and repair only, not for installation, not for anything other than maintenance and repair. So I'm a little confused at when you're saying that it's not a maintenance contract. I'm just confused with that. So I don't know, maybe you could re-explain that.
What you consider maintenance is, I mean, maintenance is maintenance. Maintenance is
chiller.
Well, maintenance is replacing a thermostat. Maintenance is replacing a unit for the heating and air at the Samaria Park Hall. Like I said, I'm up for anything, but that's maintenance. Maintenance is replacing the roof at Township Hall. That's maintenance.
I guess I just look at maintenance a little differently than you do. Sorry.
Okay, whatever. Ms. Hirschberger? You're muted.
No, I couldn't get it to come up. I guess I disagree too. I believe that, you know, when you look at the contract we signed with Rawlings, it says maintenance and repair, and it's very specific. It agrees to provide maintenance and repair work to the following buildings, and it says check and service on quarterly basis, change filters as needed. And it follows that all the way through. And I would rather, with this big of a job, we follow policy with the 3 bids, anything over $20,000. I don't want to go with a maintenance contract for that big of a purchase.
I'm totally fine with that. But I will say this, we need to clarify the contracts for future boards. Take all of us away in 3 years. Are they going to understand exactly what this means? Because I have a different interpretation of it than you two do. I'm
Well,
just
that's
saying,
what
we need to clarify, we need to clarify in the contract that we have to follow policy moving forward in future projects. Because like with Glick, what are we gonna do if we have a $10,000 project with Glick? It doesn't say anything anywhere in there. We just approved a project last week at the fire department. It didn't say, hey, we had to get 3 quotes. I mean, I'm just saying, we need to clarify it. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's a big project. It probably isn't a bad idea to put it out for bid. I'm just saying, we need some clarification. Mr. Steiner? You're muted.
So for clarification purposes, all right, if we were to go out and buy the chiller direct, the purpose of buying it direct is what?
Well, we would buy the chiller direct to save money rather than Rawlings buying it.
Okay.
And then we would pay him his hourly rate that we approved to install it.
Right. So if we can go out and buy it direct, then why shouldn't we, if we can save that money, and I knew that was the answer, if we can save the money going direct, why don't we get 3 bids for installation purposes from Rawlings and whoever? So again, we're saving money. Or you could tell them, you can bid it both ways. Us buying it direct, and then you could have a second portion of the bid, you buy it and you do the installation.
Because here's why, because Rawlings maintenance is everything for us. And you're going to have a company potentially out of Detroit putting in this chiller because they bid it low. Okay. And 5 years later, now you have Rawlings or whatever, the next year after it's out of warranty, Rawlings will maintain it. Well, it's a little different when you install the piece of equipment. That's just my opinion. I would rather have the guy install it who is going to be maintaining it for years to come.
Well, that's what I say.
That's just my opinion.
You could buy it direct, and Rawlings should still win the bid. He's already
won the bid though when we put it out for bid. When we put out a competitive bid for HVAC services.
No, I mean I have to agree with the fact that there's a difference. The word of maintain and replace; those are 2 different words. And I'll really simplify it. If something goes wrong with my car and my car's a piece of junk today, I have to replace my car tomorrow. I'm not going to maintain it tomorrow. I got to replace that car tomorrow.
Then we need to specify that in the contract or somewhere. That way we don't have to deal with this moving forward. Because like I said, it doesn't specify. We need to specify maintenance and replace them. That way it's clean and clear and it's understanding. Mr. Goldsmith, you want to weigh in on this? I mean, am I totally off here?
Well, I agree with you. Specification in the contract document is always the preferred course of action. So there is a disagreement as to the term, so that should be done on a going forward basis. What's the term of that contract? Is it an annual renewal, 1-year contract, or does it go beyond that?
I don't think it was specified.
Okay, so
it could be perpetual until we decide as a board that we want to put it out for bid.
Okay, yeah, and maybe that's the way it is set up. Yes, so no, I agree that it needs to be specified so that the board is of one accord as to what it is you're actually entering into a contract for. So it could be maintenance, repair, replacement. Some thought has to be given to it.
Mr. Bruning?
Yeah, we had 2 people from the library board call in and they both wanted 3 bids. I think we should honor what they want to do. They're on the board. Yeah. I'm all for getting bids. I'm for the bids.
Just keep in mind, Mr. Bruning, they advise us.
I know they advise us.
We're the board that makes decisions. So you have to keep that in mind. They advise us. We're the board that makes decisions. Mr. Montry?
I just made me forget what I was originally raising my hand for. But yeah, I guess that like this whole thing, I'm looking to be able to give direction to the library advisory board so that they can advise us. And I guess how I looked at it is I would think that we take advantage of our, I don't know, maybe I'm seeing it differently than other board members, but I see it as the thing that makes the most sense to me is you buy direct by bidding out the hardware. Oh, maybe that was what I was going to say. Is a good example was the headache that we went through with the lights at the library, where it was bid out and then it goes through and then it was just a massive runaround for forever. That now our contract with Glick locally, Glick is fixing that entire situation that was a giant headache however long ago, and like that I agree that I would think that it would be appropriate, and I think it'll be appropriate, and I think it would be the best financial situation and long-term situation if Rawlings not Rawlings in particular, but that's who our contract is with, and has been for a long time, I guess, too. It's a newer, updated contract, but they've been doing that for a long time for us, and that they would be allowed to install. Like I said, I just think it makes sense that we get the hardware, let them install it, and then we're following our contract still, but I think we're also making the best financial decision in that way. But if there's direction from someone rather than just saying what they don't like, that's, I guess, more like, is there plans or ideas that anyone has?
Well, I would just say this, who's going to write the spec? So is the library advisory board, who are they going to find to write the spec? I mean, that's something that they're going to have to deal with. And keep in mind with the advisements, I was advised to change out the panel system for the lighting system at the library at $8,000 or $9,000. And I questioned it and went over there and was able to fix it for $800, roughly. So we always have to, do our due diligence as a board too. And so I think personally, like I said, I think buying direct and having our contractor that has won the bid is my opinion, our best bet. Mr. Steiner?
I would assume, but don't want to assume, that if Rawlings was to take care of the chiller, and if it breaks down, are they fully trained on chiller maintenance or repair? Or I would think, but are there other people trained for it?
No, they're fully prepared. They're fully ready to do that type of work. They've been fixing it, working on it for years, putting Band-Aids on it. It's been needed to go for a while. And like I said, the comment from the library advisory board about us missing some maintenance has caused us to put in new chillers. Totally false. Ms. Hirschberger?
The call-in, is that a library board member that asked to be Mr. Lambers, that asked to talk during our discussion?
Oh, I'm not sure if it is. Let him on.
Okay, this is Harry Lambers.
Hey, Harry, how you doing? Thanks for being on.
Okay, I'm at 8046 Timberwood Lane, Temperance. I'm now the president of the Library Advisory Board. When I joined, we got 3 quotes to cut down 5 trees, which were identified on all the quotes. And we sent the quote in to the township board. The township board rejected the low bid, which was $750, because we did not go up for bids. Now, you want to take a maintenance contract and replace the equipment that's valued at $60,000 without going up for bids. Now, if I was your mechanic and I worked on your car and I started working on it, and I says, oh man, I can't change this water pump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the local dealer, buy a brand new car for $48,000 and bring it over to you and say, hey, it's your car. I just bought you a new car. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure I'm following you. Mr. Gorge, you have something?
Yeah, I'd prefer to go with the bid. I understand the contract with Rawlings.
Then let's make a motion.
Then let's
We don't
let's
need
do
to
it.
discuss it. Let's make a motion. We don't need to, I mean, it's, like I said, I just want in the future, have clarity on it.
And we
That's
can
it.
work, that's fine, we can work on.
I think the project, and I think that's the major misunderstanding. It's the difference between, are you bidding the entire project or are you bidding hardware? That's like the clarification that I'm looking for to be able to give direction to the board is, it's not whether it goes out to bid or not. I think it's a misunderstanding. It's, are we putting hardware out to bid or are we putting the entire project out to bid? Which I think putting the entire project out to bid possibly puts Rawlings as our maintenance and repair contractor down the road in a bad position, similar to the situation that the lights at the library, that's how we did the project, and then we had to pay Glick to go fix it all. And we paid a bunch of money, well, I mean, not tons of money, but it was more of a headache than anything over time getting a simple situation situated.
Yeah, but those lights you're talking about were never fixed to begin with. They just had bulbs replaced. And Mr. Lambers, to your point on the trees, if this board had put out a competitive bid for tree service people to cut our trees down in our community, if we did that and somebody got the bid, no, I wouldn't expect you guys to get 3 bids because we have a tree down over here. Give us a bid to take it out. So, all right, I'm going to entertain a motion.
I thought the policy said $20,000. It didn't say anything
Hey, Mr.
about
Lambers,
having.
we have to keep moving on. We appreciate you being on here. But we're gonna keep moving on. We're gonna make the motion here, and you're more than welcome to call back in public comment.
I would go out for a bid to replace, to buy and install.
Mr. Lambers.
And Rawlings did not install the air conditioner in the beginning, right?
Mr. Lambers, we appreciate you being on, and we're taking what you're saying serious, okay? We've heard you. We need to keep this meeting moving, okay? All right, I'm going to look for a motion.
I make a motion, we send the complete job out for 3 bids.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to support Mr. Steiner. Discussion? Mr. Montague?
I would suggest making the motion to have the library advisory board, like I said, you're going to have to develop, to put that out for bid. There's got to be specs developed and all of that. So just putting it out for bid without specs developed, that's what I would think that this board would make that motion to direct the library advisory board to get the entire project bid out and put the specs together to bring back to this board to officially put out to bid.
I would recommend this board tell the library advisory board to find an outside firm to come in and put specs together for us to put out for competitive bid. That's not to bid on the project.
Either way,
they're not bidding on the project. They put the specs together, and there's many companies that can do it. And then we can put it out for bid.
Well, they wouldn't have to come back to the board. They just need to turn the specs into the clerk to bid it out.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we have to put it out for bid, not the library advisory board.
No,
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
So would you both take a friendly amendment that We're
I would be-
approving the library to create the specs and submit to the township clerk for bid process.
Be
So that
fine.
wasn't what I meant. I didn't mean for the library advisory board members to create the specs themselves. I meant for a private firm to create the specs. They're not, I wouldn't think they're qualified to put together specs for a chiller.
No, they would go out and get the
Yeah.
specifications.
Okay.
Can we have that
motion?
reworded so that
Call
there's
for roll.
so that there's very clear direction for the library advisory board?
I don't know how much more clear we
Okay,
can be
if,
than that.
Todd and Rick are okay with the wording, what it will say is that we are granting the library advisory board permission to go out and seek specifications for a chiller to be fully replaced. And then turn those specifications into the clerk for the bidding process to start for sealed bids.
I'm fine.
That's it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
call the roll, please.
Mr. Bruning,
Yes.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, number 9, comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes for each individual. Go ahead and start your comments. Okay. I can guarantee you there's going to be some calls coming, but we'll start public comment. Mr. Bruning, or we'll start commissioner's comments. Mr. Bruning, and just, if somebody calls in, Todd, just stop. We'll restart you.
Okay. No, I'm fine. Everybody have a good weekend.
Okay, Mr. Steiner.
Just real quick, talked about this last year. The weather's not completely broke yet, but it's coming around the corner here. I've had some complaints called about.
Hey, Mr. Steiner, let's just stop. Let's get into the callers. They're starting now. So go ahead, George. Good evening. Go ahead with your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
Hi, this is Lamar Frederick, 3254 Deer Creek Drive in Lambertville. I would hope that Mr. Montry might go back to a high school civics class. While he was comparing the supervisor nominating folks to the planning commission and trying to compare it to the president of the United States nominating folks to the federal bench. He should remember that recently the president did, in fact, nominate someone to the Supreme Court, and the Senate didn't even pick up the hearing whatsoever. And in the past, Judge Bork was nominated to the Supreme Court, and he was summarily run out of town by the Senate. So the comparison isn't even there. Further, several of the supervisor's nominations were, in fact, contributors to his election campaign or his re-election campaign. So that's another story. Lastly, Mr. Supervisor, the farmers market has been around here for a long time. You were not the originator of the farmers market. And so it's nice of you to kind of pat yourself on the back, but in fact, you weren't there. Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Have a great night.
What?
Go ahead, state your name and address and go with your comment.
Shalom, Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. Mr. Montry, I believe you are wrong, but you would discredit me because I am a Democrat casting my vote on individuals and not a party. But the time is long overdue. The strong arm has been the supervisor, trolling for developers or those who have donated to his cause or who will do his bidding. This is political payback and is a conflict. And go ahead and trash talk me, Mr. PP, but you need to man up. I can prove, and so can others, that you are lying about the farmers market. Some of this stuff is crazy. Kudos to Rick and kudos to Trudy for jobs well done. And, you're very disrespectful to your advisory board for the library. And it's appalling the way you are handling this township at this time. So all I can say is shalom and may God forgive you. Bye.
Well, thank you so much for your comments. Have a blessed night. Okay, any more comments, George? Okay, Mr. Steiner.
Yeah, just so reiterate, weather's starting to break a little bit, and I've already received some various complaints about golf carts or go-karts, motorbikes, things like that. And, a lot of young kids are out riding these power vehicles on the roadways. They're unlicensed vehicles. In fact, the kids are way too young to be licensed themselves. And I'm talking this one call I had, they're talking probably 7 and 8 year olds running around on the roadways. I know that I mentioned last year that my son had one cut right in front of him. He almost clipped him. The gentleman I talked to, he said wasn't here and wasn't recent, but he watched a death of a child because a child got run over by a vehicle when the child shouldn't even been riding whatever kind of vehicle or ATV or whatever in the roadways. So I really reach out to the entire community. Please do not have your kids running around the community on the roadways with power vehicles. I know we all would like to think our children are 100% responsible, but I've seen so many driving past in front of my house, even golf carts, go-karts, etc. They're not paying attention. They're laughing. Kids are jumping around, almost falling off the back. And it's only a matter of time before the worst happens. Thank you.
Paul, you're muted.
Go ahead, Mr. Montry.
Nothing from me for tonight.
Mr. Gore?
Yeah, had the first meeting with the Lewis Avenue Corridor Committee. I just want to keep the board up to speed on that. We did our introductions. That's a great group of citizens. Look forward to working with each of them. A couple things came up. First, Mr. Ellsworth brought up he wants to do something about a sign ordinance, and I'm going to get clarification from him. I'm going to sit down one-on-one with him and talk to him about what his concerns are. And then another question came up, whether or not, do we have any liquor license available still in the county or in the township? Mr. Peroni, do you know?
As of right now, we have one that we're trying to get back from Fireside Grill over off Secor Road, and I believe that's going to be coming soon.
Okay, that was...
As of right now, no. The answer is no. We don't have any available right now.
Okay, but there one possibly could come up.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. But again, it was a great meeting with those folks, and look forward to working with them some more. And I wish everybody a good evening tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Janizek.
I just wanted to let everyone know that tax collection is completed. I'm getting ready to start my payout with the county. We are at 96% collected for the winter collection this season. For summer, we have collected about 98% of the taxes. So we're right on schedule with where we have been in prior years, even though, with the whole pandemic, people have paid their taxes. So other than that, I'm good. Have a good evening.
Ms. Hirschberger?
Just want to remind the residents of the May 4th election coming up. So if you wanted to vote absentee, please contact my office. If you're on my permanent list, you should have already received your application. All you need to do is sign it in the 2 locations, get it back to our office, and then as soon as we get those ballots, we'll be mailing those out. That's all I have.
Mr. Bruning, you have something?
Yeah, I forgot to ask you earlier. I got the resident stopped in. Is Adam Massengale on or no? Do you know if he's on tonight?
Yes,
All
he
right.
is.
The question is going to go to him, Paul. This resident wanted to know, why are we running lift assist to establishments that charge people to live there? Example, nursing homes. Like if you're paying, like to keep someone there, they should have adequate staffing for a lift assist. And if we are running lift assist there, is that something that Adam can bill their insurance for or the place for? I was just told to ask.
Do you want to?
It's a question for Adam. That's why I was seeing if he was on. There you go.
Good evening. I would say it's rare. I'll pull up some data and get back to you. I don't think that lift assists in facilities are something that are common or happening a lot, but I'll double check it. We'll see how often we're doing it. To my knowledge, maybe 1 or 2 times a year, maybe, but that's just a really off the top of my head guess, sir. So I'll check into it. I'll let you know. How's that?
All right, perfect. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so I will touch on the farmer's market really quick since it's such a point of contention, I guess. TAC did have a farmer's market a while ago, long time ago, and it was dormant for 2 years. And at that point, as a trustee, I said, we have to have a farmer's market here. So I put together a large group of people, and we had roughly 15 people, and I called Miss Keene and invited her to that meeting because she was part of TAC and part of the farmer's market. She came to the meeting, and so it was part of it, and that was the last meeting she was a part of, but we moved on with a farmer's market and had one at a church, or well, actually we had it at the YMCA, and it's moved now to the church, and we've had it for roughly 7 years now, going on 8 years. I mean, so it's, yes, there is some history there. It was before, but it's not like I started my own and stole their. I mean, yeah, TAC did start one. So, okay, moving on to, I just want to say that I did see that Mulch King will not be open for right now to take anything from residents, unfortunately. They are clearing out their area a lot and exactly what's happening there. I think this board is well aware of what's going on, but I just want to let the residents know that as of right now, we do not have a contract with them to make it free for residents to drop your waste there this season. So unfortunately, that's where we're at. But as of right now, some of the projects I'm working on, I'm analyzing the park cost for the maintenance department, working on an emergency plan with the township hall, still working on the police monument, working on the museum with Banner Oak, putting a group together. We're going to look at getting some quotes for the roof. I turned the park board on to a grant from the Monroe Community Foundation for ADA stuff in parks. So I'm working with Chris Schlegel on that. Lake Erie Transit, we finished up the budget. It's looking very good. They're hoping to get some more riders this year. And South County Water Board meeting, a lot of talk about closing smaller loops in the whole county. One of the areas is over by Adler Road. They're going to be closing that loop. And obviously the loop we've talked about going up Lewis to Samaria, down Samaria to Secor, closing that loop, which is a huge project. I did meet with the school. I invited Mr. Bruning and Ms. Janizek, and Ms. Janizek's deputy was able to come. Mr. Bruning wasn't able to come. We did have a meeting to discuss community ed, the partnership possibly with the school, park board, to discuss the future of community ed. They're looking for a stronger partnership. So we had a great meeting. I'm looking for possibly discuss in the future with some board members the possibility of that. I know Dr. Carl's going to be reaching out to a few people. So Downtown Development Authority, I just want to say we are looking at more security in that area for some of the businesses. I know there's been some issues there. We are looking at lights at both entrances still, even though we didn't get the grant last year. We are discussing a fall festival in the downtown area called the Bedford Boo Bash on Halloween night to have a community-wide trunk or treat with food trucks and just some fun activities. That'll be in the fall. We are postponing Summerfest at this time. We are discussing Temper Street Fest, whether or not we're going to be able to have that with COVID, and we are continuing on to plan on having the Blizzard Fest. So things are looking up. I wanted to discuss the with the Gordie Howe Bridge that I'm one of the team captains for. We've launched a 734 launch pillar. It's a business development hub that was initiated that will provide business education resources, mentorship opportunities, funding opportunities, and overall comprehensive strategy for business development for startups and grow-ups. A shared workspace is one of the long-term goals. So that's one of the things that my pillar team is working on with the county streamline. I know the Bedford Community Foundation is looking for ways to raise more money to give more scholarships to Bedford students. So they are going to be having a golf outing this year. SEMCOG executive meeting, a lot of discussions about charging stations for electric cars is happening in communities. So that's one thing that is kind of happening in our state. Other than that, I hope everybody has a blessed week. And I'm motion we adjourn with no further comments.
Support.
We stand adjourned. Motion.